it would be a sin to mention crossovers without mentioning the Stepway. Joining me right here is the Renault Sandero Stepway, a car that you guys might be familiar with. Join me as we're going to discuss its features, practicality, and its driving experiences. The Stepway has Renault's traditional diamond-shaped badge with LED daytime running lights and a bit of some body cladding to give it that rugged off-road look. Coming along to the side, the Stepway has 16-inch alloy rims with raised ride height compared to the standard Sandero and a continuation of the body cladding that we've seen along the front. Coming inside of the cockpit, we are greeted with a chunky steering wheel from Renault and a standard Bluetooth radio and a standard air conditioning system, with of course your multimedia controls mounted behind the steering wheel in typical Renault fashion. Coming along to the back, the Renault does have a 60-40 split bench. And right here I'm sitting behind my driving position, and legroom is somewhat okay. I can last a fair trip, and headroom is decent, Coming along to the boot, if there's one thing that I really don't like about the Stepway's boot, it has to be that it still uses a traditional latching system. Either way, you have to open it from the front or use a traditional key to actually unlock it via the keyhole over here. As for boot space, it has 324 liters that could squeeze in the entire family's bags in case of a short trip. So you join me inside the Renault Stepway, and from the get-go, let's start it off with the oily bits, So this Stepway has a 0.9 turbocharged engine, and it delivers 66 kilowatts and 135 newton meters of torque, and it puts out all that power through a 5-speed manual gearbox, which it's a really slick gearbox. It, like, you select first gear, it goes into first gear, second gear, it selects second gear, with no hassles whatsoever. I've found it's a really slick gearbox. I've never had complaints about it, I know a 0.9 turbocharged engine might not seem like it's a lot, but just because of that added turbo, I've never found myself looking for more power, I've never found myself looking for more power within this. Power delivery is very smooth in this car, You tell it where to go and it goes directly there. It's not a race car, but it gets the job done, It really does get the job done, But obviously there's a few things that I really don't like about it. Number one, which is very common in turbocharged cars, which is turbo lag. You do kind of experience experience a bit of some turbo lag here and there with this car, but then it's normal for turbo cars. So with this car in particular, with this car in particular, it, like, you would drive and then there would be no power. The turbo wouldn't kick in until 2000 RPMs, but this normally happens within the lower gears, like first gear and second gear. So, and then from around about 2000 RPMs, the turbo would kick in, which is not really a bad thing. It does kind of give you that extra push that you actually needed, Yeah, so that's that. But it's a really refined engine. It's a trusted engine that we have seen across the range in most of the types. We've seen it in the Nissan Micra, we've seen it in the Renault Clio. So that has to kind of like give you a hint about its reliability. Coming down to fuel economy, because we all trying to save money at the pump, So Renault claims a 5.4 liters to the 100. We have got figures of 6.5 in real world driving, in traffic, like mixed driving, highway driving, and so forth. It's not bad. It's really not bad for the car, like considering the car's size, basically. It's really not bad. I've been told by a friend of mine, they've once had the Stepway on test, and they done a road trip from here to Cape Town. You know, they were able to like get the figures of 926 kilometers that is claimed by Renault on one tank, which is pretty decent. It's really decent, you know, very decent for this car. I mean, on one tank, considering that it has a fuel tank of 55 liters, it's quite nice. But of course, there's things that I really don't like about the car. Number one being the seating position. You know, I really wish I could, like, since I benefit from the raised drive height, I really wish I could raise, you know, the bottom of my seat to kind of like jack the seat up a bit. But instead I can't, you know. So that kind of makes me feel like I'm slouching inside, or I'm kind of like sitting low, wherein I feel like the dashboard is a bit higher than how I'm sitting, you know. So I really don't like that about the car. But, you know, nonetheless, it's quite comfortable, you know. The seats are really comfortable. You know, I can do multiple kilometers in the seats. They're pretty comfortable, you know. One thing again, you know, let's say you're in traffic just like me right now. It does have an eco button, which is like a gimmick of Renault. Well, not really a gimmick, but you know, it's a feature that it has where you can put it into eco mode and it would save a bit of some fuel, you know. But with that being said, it does do what it says on the tin, but I don't really like how it implements it, you know. It kind of like reduces the throttle response by quite a lot, you know. So I don't really like that, especially if you're in town and you're really trying to zip around. Obviously there's a feature that you can do to bypass this. There's a thing that you can do to bypass this. You can just depress the accelerator, you know, very like to the board, and this feature will, you know, it will put itself out of eco mode for that time, you know. So yeah, I think Renault calls it the overboost, yeah, something like that. So yeah, that's really something that I really don't like about this eco button, you know. So yeah, it kind of like slackens everything off, but nonetheless, this car is it's really a nice car, you know, considering the type of equipment that you get, like LED daytime running lights, a multi-function steering wheel, you know. It's only a pity that, you know, you won't be getting certain features like adaptive cruise control, but this is the expression version, you know. In models higher up, you do get a cruise control button that, you know, that kind of like works with the cruise control system, so which is really nice, you know. So yeah, overall, I really like the car. I really like it. Would I buy the car? Considering my age, I wouldn't. But if you have a small family and you're on a budget, then surely please do. Please do. It's really a nice car. It's a really a nice, reliable car. It does save a lot of fuel. It's a bit powerful. So yeah.